Okay, so today we're going to start final planing this butt section for the Richard Walker Mark IV carp rod that we've been making. In the previous videos we've split these strips, straightened them and rough planed them. They're now well oversized to what we want, so in this video we're going to final plane the tapers that we need into these strips. Now to do this we're going to use the final planing forms, and the first job is to set them to required tapers. Now we're going to use the dial indicator that we showed in the previous videos to set the forms. So first of all we're going to use the standard block, and we're going to make sure that this dial indicator is correctly zeroed. Now this block has got a 60-degree groove running down it with a void for the point of the needle to sit in. Now I know that when I put this in here, the reading on the dial indicator needs to be 2.41 millimeters. Now we're using the negative reading on the indicator because we're measuring the depth rather than the height of something. So that means the little arrow here will be on 25 when it's on 0. So at the moment this is reading 2.48 millimeters. So we'll turn the dial until it reads 2.41 millimeters. Now we're using the smaller numbers because we're reading in the negative. So that's correctly set now, so we know that this is accurately measuring the depth of the groove in the planing forms. So if we take it off the standard block and place the point into the planing forms, I can now see, and this is reading 3.525 millimeters. So I've got the tapers for the rod here, and I know the first measurement we need is 4.57 millimeters. So the planing forms work. We have a bolt on each side. The one side, this side, if I tighten this up it will squeeze the bars together, therefore making the groove smaller. The bolt on this side, when tightened, will push the bars apart and make the groove deeper. So I know this is reading just over 3.50 millimeters, so I need to open the bars up. So we'll do this by doing this, and if you watch on the dial indicator you'll see it turning. So we're now on 4.0 millimeters, so we'll keep going till we've hit 3.5. Just need to loosen that one to allow it to open a bit more. So we've now hit 3.57 millimeters, so we'll lock that in. We'll also lock these ones in. We'll check it, and we are a little bit over, so we'll tighten it up. So the dial indicator is now measuring 4.57 millimeters, which is correct. So we'll now move on to our next station, 5 inches down, which is 4.77 millimeters. So if we move the dial indicator down in line with our next set of bolts, we'll see we need to open these up. So use this called the push bolt, and we'll gently tighten that up until we're on, there's 4.7, 756, 4.77. We'll lock in that. Now what we'll do is we'll continue all the way down the length of the rod, set the forms, and when we've done we'll come back up to the top and just check that nothing's moved while we've been adjusting them, and when they're all set and locked in then we can start planing. Okay, so we've set the planing forms to the correct taper for this rod. So what we're now going to do is we're going to plane this remaining strip until it's flush with the planing forms all the way along. Now, as before, we're going to plane the two sides and we're not going to plane the outside edge, which is where all the power fibres are. At some point though, we will need to flatten this edge because it's got a slightly rounded profile now from the outside of the culm of bamboo, which is round to start with. So when we get close to dimensions, we'll place it in the form this way and we'll just flatten the top. We're going to take the least amount of material off as possible in order to get this flat, but mainly we're going to be planing this edge and turning it over and also planing this edge. To do this, I'm going to use both of my block planes. I've got this plane which is set to take a decent amount off, around about 0.008 of an inch, and then we've got this plane which is set much finer and will take off round about 1 to 2 thou. This will be what we use to finish off the strip and also to flatten the top down. So first of all, we'll place the strip in. We'll get our first plane and we'll just take a couple of cuts on each side. And you can hear the plane skipping at some places. This is just flattening off this side of the strip. For a few passes we'll keep turning the strip at each pass. Now this bamboo, after the rough planing, this was heat treated in my oven, so the cane's baked, and what this does is hardens the cane. It gives it makes it much tougher and much springier. But you can also hear from the sound of the plane cutting it, it's much harder now. Keep planing. You can hear we're taking nearly a continuous cut now. So we've flattened the bamboo, so we'll just keep planing and turning it. There's just a small section there where there's a small dip, so we'll plane this side another couple of times just to get rid of that. And what we do now is making sure we keep the plane parallel to the forms. Don't want to tilt it, so it'll either catch the forms or adjust the angle on the bamboo strip. It needs to be dead flat. Now we've got it flat and we're taking a continuous cut. We'll do a couple of passes on each side in between, flipping it over. Now I'm constantly checking with my fingers, just making sure we've got a nice clean edge on the two sides. we're getting quite close to our final dimensions now. So this is the point where I'm going to take this layer of enamel off. Now you can do this a few ways. You can either use a scraper plane or even sandpaper. But because this is one of the larger butt section strips, I'm actually going to use the plane because we need to take a decent amount off just to get this dead straight. So you'll be able to hear now, this plane's hardly taking anything off. And we're just going to take a few passes until the strip is dead flat. At this point we want to take the least amount of material off as possible while still getting the strip dead flat. And all this is doing is taking the natural curve out of the bamboo. You can see the first pass takes a small section down the middle off, and it probably needs another one or maybe two passes. There's one more there. Now we've got the edge of the strip nice and flat, and that's all we will take off that side in the whole of the grub building process. Now I'm going to switch to my fine cut plane and just plane the rest of this strip flush with the top of the planing forms. As you can hear, this plane set a lot finer than the previous plane. And we'll just slowly work our way down until we're flush with the top of the planing form. And you can hear just down here, we're flush with the top there, you can hear the plane stops cutting when we get down there. So as we work through it, gradually start just taking the whole spots off. And what this is doing is cutting the taper into the bamboo.